Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Wednesday, February 13th, from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The Caribbean Tourism Organization, the CTO, is reporting that regional tourism is on the upswing despite recording its first decline in international tourist arrivals in 2018. Director of Research at the CTO, Ryan Skeet, gave that assessment at the organization's annual news conference on Wednesday morning. He told reporters the region registered declines during the first 8 months of 2018, but there were signs of a rebound in September when there was a 3% increase. And even the destinations that were severely impacted by the 27 hurricanes and registered overall double-digit declines last year saw triple-digit increases during the last 4 months of the year.
Overall, the Caribbean received 29.9 million tourists visits in 2018, the second highest on record, surpassed only by the 30.6 million who visited in 2017. However, last year's arrivals numbers represented a 2.3% fall, a much better performance than the 3 to 4% fall off we had anticipated. This was the first decline in annual tourist arrivals in 9 years. And with global growth in international trips increasing by 5.6%, the Caribbean market share of global visits in 2018 shrank by 0.2 percentage points to 2.1% of the market.
There was a 1% decline in total visitor spending to $38.3 billion, but Skeet says the CTO is cautiously optimistic for tourism prospects in 2019.
Of course, we must recognize that there are significant headwinds to navigate. These include, but are not limited to, the outcome of the Brexit negotiations, the ongoing trade war between US and China, and potential extreme weather events in the destinations and marketplaces. Consequently, we are projecting that tourist arrivals will increase by between 6 and 7% in 2019 as the damaged infrastructure in the hurricane-impacted destinations return to capacity. Similarly, cruise arrivals should expand by a further 4 to 5%.
Trinidad and Tobago's National Security Minister Stuart Young on a Wednesday announced plans for a series of security operations aimed at tackling crime in the Twin Island Republic. At a press conference held shortly after meeting with the heads of all the country's security organizations, Young said that very shortly there will be increased intelligence-driven operations aimed at beating criminal elements into submission. And he warned citizens to be prepared for some level of inconvenience in the process.
Intelligence has been gathered over a number of months for the preparation of certain operations. When these operations are launched, there is going to be a level of inconvenience, unfortunately, to the law-abiding citizens in particular areas. I ask the law-abiding citizens to bear with us as we launch certain operations to ensure their safety and their security. And we are well aware of who the law-abiding citizens are and the need to assist them and to offer levels of protection for them. However, the only way to push back at the criminal element is for us to change the narrative. And that is what will be happening. The criminal element needs to be inconvenienced. And to the criminal element, I make absolutely no apologies for the inconveniences that they will face and the type of behavior that they will face and the pushback that they will feel in the coming weeks and months.
The National Security Minister declined to give details about what the initiative would entail, but he stressed that the operation should not be confused with a state of emergency, and he assured the operations will be undertaken within the confines of the law. A Jamaican Muslim cleric fighting extradition on terrorism charges is now waiting to see whether he will face the courts in the United States. Sheikh Abdullah Al-Faisal is wanted in the U.S. for allegedly using internet-based platforms, including WhatsApp, to persuade individuals around the world to travel to Syria to take up the cause of jihad. The three-member panel hearing his extradition challenge in the Home Circuit Court reserved its decision in the matter on Tuesday after 2 days of submissions from both sides. TVJ's Dashan Hendricks reports.
During submissions on Tuesday, government prosecutors dismissed the claims by Al-Faisal's attorneys that the Jamaican government and its U.S. counterparts are not acting in good faith in their efforts to have him extradited. Al-Faisal's attorneys have applied to the Constitutional Court to overturn the extradition order handed down against him in May last year. They claim his constitutional rights have been breached and he should be released. During submissions on Monday, Al-Faisal's attorney, Bert Samuels, argued that the U.S. government has failed to make a full disclosure of the evidence against him. Therefore, his extradition would be unjust and oppressive. But in response Tuesday, Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Jeremy Taylor, argued that U.S. prosecutors have provided sufficient evidence for his extradition to stand the trial. Mr. Taylor said U.S. prosecutors have submitted evidence to show that the Jamaican-born cleric used online applications to recruit persons to join the terrorist group ISIS. The senior deputy DPP reminded the three-member panel that the full court and appeal court have in the past rejected similar arguments of alleged human rights breaches by fugitives facing extradition. The panel this afternoon rejected an application by Mr. Taylor to introduce a fresh affidavit by the U.S. government. Al-Faisal, who went to Britain in the 1980s, was expelled from the country in 2007 after serving a jail term for inciting racial hatred and urging his followers to murder Jews, Hindus, Christians, and Americans. The cleric once led a London mosque attended by convicted terrorists, and British authorities have said that his teachings heavily influenced one of the bombers in the 2005 transport network attacks in London that killed 52 people. Al-Faisal was deported to Jamaica from Kenya in January 2010 after being arrested on New Year's Day for preaching at a mosque in Nairobi, breaching stipulations of his work permit.
The Association of Private Hospitals of Haiti is warning of a possible shortage of medicines as the health sector struggles to cope with the fallout from protest action led by opposition parties demanding the resignation of President Jovenel Moïse. It says all its member hospitals are starting to face major challenges, including a shortage of electricity, fuel and oxygen, depletion of stocks of medicines, which directly affect the ability to save lives. CARICOM is also concerned about the violence. Chairman and St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris said the regional integration grouping is calling for calm and an end to the violence that has resulted in the loss of life and property, destruction of infrastructure, and caused grave distress. CARICOM has appealed to all involved to engage in constructive dialogue and to respect the Constitution, the rule of law, and democratic process so that issues can be resolved in a peaceful atmosphere and a state of normalcy can be returned to the French-speaking Caribbean nation. Several Western countries have also called for constructive and inclusive dialogue to identify and implement realistic and lasting solutions to the political and economic problems. And religious leaders in Haiti also urged citizens to come together to find a solution. Over in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the trial in the second of two petitions filed by the opposition New Democratic Party challenging the results of the December 9, 2015 elections began in the High Court on a Wednesday. Our St. Vincent and the Grenadines correspondent Kenton Chance attended the proceedings and gives us an update.
Of two witnesses in the case that Laurent Batiste of the NDP has brought challenging the announced victory of Montgomery Daniel of the Unity Labour Party, the ULP, in North Windward. Election officials say that the ULP won those seats and 6 others in the 15-member parliament to secure a 4th consecutive term in office. The trial of the North Windward petition began after the court had heard cross-examination of witnesses on behalf of the petitioner in the Central Leeward case, Benjamin Exeter. Exeter, the NDP's candidate in Central Leeward, is contesting the announced victory of Deputy Prime Minister Sir Louis Straker in that district. Exeter had his day in court on Tuesday. During the cross-examination conducted by Trinidadian Senior Counsel Douglas Mendes, Exeter told the court there are many things he can't trust about the 2015 poll. Exeter's petition is supported by a series of photographs he took during the final count on December 10, 2015. I have issues with all of the ballots cast in the 2015 election in Central Leeward, Exeter told the court. His evidence included a video filmed during the final count in which lawyer Mayer Eustace can be heard protesting to presiding officer Winston Gaines. Eustace was protesting Games's decision to accept as valid ballots of a type that he had rejected in another polling station in the same constituency because they did not have the official mark or the official stamp of the presiding officer. On Tuesday, Eustace testified on Exeter's behalf and rejected several official documents as different from those she had seen during the final count in Central Leeward. The trial continues on Thursday when the lawyers for the government will continue to cross-examine witnesses on behalf of the second petitioner. When cross-examination of the petitioner's witnesses in both cases is complete, it will be the turn of the petitioner's legal team to cross-examine the witnesses on behalf of the state. One of the most anticipated testimonies is undoubtedly that of then Supervisor of Elections, Sylvia Finley Scrub, who has since retired from the post. The government's legal team also includes Senior Counsel Anthony Astafan of Dominica and attorneys from Trinidad and Tobago and Antigua. The petitioner's case is being led by Vincentian Queen's Counsel Stanley Storky John and Trinidadian attorney Keith Scotland. Trinidad-born jurist, acting High Court Judge Justin Stanley John is presiding. Kenton Chance, CMC News, Kingstown, St. Vincent.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, a regional leader urges LIAT to challenge a court judgment awarding more than $1.5 million to a former employee. The details after the break.
Become part of a family of over 2.5 million people in 16 Caribbean countries. When you join a credit union, you're not just a member, you are part owner. Join a credit union today. This message is brought to you by the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Unions.
Barbados, renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Welcome to the WWG 2019 War with Germs.
The Oxitec antimicrobial glove is wasting no time, folks.
Quite right, Tammy. I see no way for the germs duo to come back from this.
Oh, what a slam. What a slam. Oxitec is the winner in less than a minute. WWG champion of the world. Find our champion at www.psci.biz or give us a call at 417-0777.
Welcome back. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown is hoping regional airline LIAT appeals a $1.55 million court judgment awarded to a former employee in the USVI earlier this month. William Cherubin, took the cash-strapped airline to court in St. Croix, claiming he had been dismissed because of his age. According to court documents, on June 4, 2015, LIAT fired Cherubin without notice, citing several incidents involving violations of company policy, including 2 alleged incidents in 2009 and 2012. Cherubin and his attorneys alleged that LIAT actually fired him because of his age and not because of poor performance. Virgin Islands laws prohibit the discrimination on the basis of age. In 2011, LIAT offered all employees over 62 years old retirement packages in exchange for voluntary resignations, but Cherubin turned down the offer. He was 70 when he was fired by LIAT in 2015. Cherubin worked at the airline for 47 years.
Clearly it's excessive, and I would imagine that LIAT will appeal it. In any event, whoever gave that judgment does not understand the financial health of LIAT. Because if they did, if those judges understood the situation with LIAT, they would not be making such an outlandish, decision to award $1.5 million US. That's just utter madness.
In this week's Newsline Business, we hear of trends in the regional tourism market as well as developments in the agriculture sector.
Newsline Business is brought to you by Solar Dynamics.
The Canadian market registered the strongest performance in regional tourism in 2018. The Caribbean Tourism Organization says it recorded 3.9 million visitors from Canada last year. Acting Director of Research, Ryan Skeet, says this was due mainly to the country's strong economic performance and increased seat capacity to the region.
Arrivals from Europe improved modestly by an estimated 1.3%. Partially reflecting the fact that more UK tourists were switching to domestic holidays attributed to the continuing Brexit negotiations, the related uncertainties, and a weaker pound. UK arrivals remain flat at an estimated 1.3 million arrivals.
Now for a look at some trends in the agriculture sector. Changing consumer tastes have led to a decline in rice production in Trinidad. Agriculture Minister Clarence Rambarat says there has been a sharp decline from 21,000 metric tons in 1992 to less than 1,000 tons in 2017. He told a Parliamentary Joint Select Committee on the State Enterprises this week that consumers now seem to prefer parboiled rice.
Well, we import at this time 36,000 tons of parboiled rice. That is what the market wants. We cannot shove white rice down people's throat. The market wants parboiled rice. There is no parboiling plants in this country.
Potato farmers in Belize say they could lose thousands of dollars in investments and a crop of red potatoes could go to waste. That's because white potatoes imported recently from Mexico are still on the local market. But the Agriculture Minister has been seeking to calm their fears.
The ministry has met with all the farmers to try to get them to a balanced price, to a balanced supply. The issue with potatoes in this country really is its storage, because everything tends to come in one time. And you have to have that storage so we can share. The ministry is also working with some people with that in terms of processing and the ability to store. And hopefully we should be able to get on top of that.
Mary-Claire Williams, Newsline Business.
Newsline Business was brought to you by Solar Dynamics.
When we were building in 1984, we decided to get the solar water heater.
We use it up to this morning. From my home, we get rain 2 days and I still get hot water.
I've had it for 30 years and I have no problems with it up to this day.
All I can say is that anyone who wishes to have a system, try Solar Dynamics.
Solar Dynamics water heater systems are now right through the Caribbean.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, the Windies captain says the regional side has a long way to go to rise to their former glory. Stay with us.
Dance jump up to this, non-stop turn and twist.
What up, it's your boy French Montana.
It's me, Smokey Robinson.
It's your boy David Doe.
Hi, I'm Elmay.
This is Buju Banton, and I'll be performing live with the Shiloh Band in St. Kitts Music Festival.
Don't miss the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, June 26th to June 30th, 2019, featuring Buju Banton, Smokey Robinson, Popcorn, and Elmay. Also, Davido, French Montana, Fimba, Edwin Yearwood and Crossfire, Coco Teak, Skinny Fabulous, Shal Marshall, Charlie Black, Farmer Nappy, Nadia Batson, Infamous, New Vibes Band, and many, many more. It will be epic. It will be mind-blowing. It will be jaw-dropping. It will be awesome. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other. For more information and to buy tickets, log on to www.stkitsmusicfestival.com.
To Sports Now, West Indies captain Jason Holder says the regional side has a long road ahead of them as they seek to rise again to their former glory as world #1 in Test cricket. The regional men retained the Wisden Trophy after beating England in the first and second test. They lost the third and final test by 232 runs. While the team is still beaming with pride from their victories, Holder cautioned the men against complacency.
I think it's important in a few contexts, in the context of the ICC rankings, in the context of the morale of the side as well. I just think, as I said, it's a situation where we just need to continue to build and improve as a side, not rest on our laurels and think that we've achieved something. We're still pretty low in the rankings, and our #1 goal is to be the #1 team in the world. So definitely a lot to improve on, definitely a lot of things that we need to put right, and a lot of positives that we need to keep within the team.
The captain heaped praises on Roston Chase for taking the lead while the side suffered a batting collapse on the fourth day.
I had a personal chat with Roston before this innings, and he was a little disheartened as his form of dismissals in this series and being short of a bit of runs. So it's good to see him knuckle down and get some runs, especially in the context of the day. We could have easily been rolled over and he could have just given it up. But it's just credit to him the way he's played, and I'm really, really happy that he was able to be there at the end and be knocked out.
Looking ahead to their next assignment against the world #1 ranked Test team in July, Holder says the side will need to continue to apply themselves.
We've just got to keep improving in all three facets of the game, batting, bowling and fielding. We've got to be clinical and be a lot more consistent than we have been in the past. Credit to our bowling unit. I think our bowling unit has done an outstanding job. It's just for our batters now to come to the party a little bit more often than not, and hopefully we can strike a good balance.
Well, West Indies fast bowler Shannon Gabriel will miss the majority of the upcoming ODI series after the International Cricket Council suspended him for breaching the Code of Conduct. In a release on Wednesday, the ICC said Gabriel was found guilty of breaching Article 2.13, which relates to personal abuse of a player, player support personnel, umpire or match referee during an international match following an incident with England captain Joe Root. The ICC said Gabriel admitted to the offence after the final test match against England on Tuesday and accepted the sanction proposed by Jeff Crow of the Emirates ICC Elite Panel of Match Referees. Gabriel, who was already sanctioned within the last 24 months, was given an additional fine of 75% of his match fee. The fast bowler already had 5 demerit points for 2 earlier incidents, 3 during the test against Pakistan in April 2017, and the other 2 in the test against Bangladesh last November. Roston Chase's 5th Test 100 has seen him make a significant jump in the latest ICC batting rankings. The 26-year-old climbed 10 places to 41st in the latest rankings released on Wednesday following West Indies' defeat to England in the final test. There was little good news for the Windies players elsewhere in the batting rankings, though. Opener Craig Brathwaite, who led the Caribbean side in the St. Lucia test in the absence of suspended captain Jason Holder, slipped further to 35th. Holder also fell to 36th. Wicketkeeper Shane Dowrich remained steady at 45th, while Shimron Hetmeyer is at 47th. Fast bowler Kemar Roach, meanwhile, has moved up one place to 11th following his series haul of 18 wickets. He started the series in 24th spot and now stands on the brink of joining Captain Holder in the top 10. Shannon Gabriel lies 13th and is the only other frontline West Indies bowler in the top 50. As expected, Indian captain Virat Kohli heads the batting charts, while South African seamer Kagiso Rabada sits on top the bowlers' rankings. Switching sports now, Guyana's Golden Jaguars will need to cross a mental hurdle to beat rivals Belize to qualify for CONCACAF Gold Cup. Newsroom Guyana's Akeem Green explains.
The equation is simple. A win for the Jaguars and a new frontier for the country's international football opens. Given the humongous stakes on the table, it means whoever makes the final squad needs to ensure they play the match of their lives. But that is easier said than done. Johnson, in addressing the media Tuesday afternoon at the National Training Facility at Providence, was firm on the stance that players need to be ready for the mental rigors.
The occasion is such a big occasion, and it's the mentality, not so much the technical abilities. It's the players who have the mentality to deal with such a big tournament. You see certain good players, they get to a big tournament and they don't perform. We are no different. We have to make sure that mentally we are ready for not only the game coming, but also the qualification and what that will bring.
The opposition sits 5 spots below Jaguars in 13th position. On the point standing, they too have a shot at making qualification, given they have won 2 matches and lost 1, which also means they tie on points with the Golden Jaguars. The coach, who is on the cusp of greatness in respect to Guyana's football, says they must be mindful of the threat.
Good team that have been together for a number of years, play the 3-5-2 system. Very, very good in transition, very, very good at defending and breaking at a quick speed. So we've got to be ready for it. Analytically, we are preparing for it now. We are making sure we leave no stone unturned, and we will be ready for the game. There's no way we could leave any stone unturned going into this game.
The former Jamaican national player indicated that everyone must give 100%, given the life-changing events that can occur if they qualify for the Gold Cup.
As a country and as a team, as staff, as players, it's massive. We all know what's at stake here. We all know the opportunities that it would give for the players. We'd all know that we'd put Guyana on the footballing map on the international stage. So we understand the ramifications of the game, and we will be trying 100% sure to make sure we deliver on it.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
When we were building in 1984, we decided to get the solar water heater.
We use it up to this morning. From my home, we get rain 2 days and I still get hot water.
I've had it for 30 years and I have no problems with it up to this day.
All I can say is that anyone who wishes to have a system, try Solar Dynamic.
Solar Dynamics water heater systems are now right through the Caribbean.
Become part of a family of over 2.5 million people in 16 Caribbean countries. When you join a credit union, you're not just a member, you are part owner. Join a credit union today. This message is brought to you by the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Unions.
Again, the major developments of this day: regional tourism on the upswing, and in sport, West Indies captain Jason Holder says the regional side has a long way to go to return to their former glory as world #1 in Test cricket. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanadaNews.com, and for more of our programming, log on to caribvision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night.